This module will summarize the research on how nicotine affects the brain, as well as how people become addicted to nicotine and how they maintain a nicotine addiction. Now, nicotine is the drug in tobacco that causes the physical addiction. It reaches the brain within 10 to 20 seconds, and there's about a milligram of nicotine in each cigarette. Now, inhalation of smoke from a cigarette actually distills the nicotine. The smoke particles carry the nicotine into the lungs, where they're absorbed into the pulmonary venous circulation. The nicotine then enters the arterial circulation and moves quickly from the lungs to the brain, where it binds to nicotine receptors. Now, to simplify things, we can think of nicotine acting primarily through the mesocortic limbic system, as you can see in this visual here. Meso, meaning middle of the brain, cortico, meaning cortex, i.e. the decision-making part of the brain, and limbic, a part of the brain that makes emotions. Now, stimulation of these receptors release a variety of neurotransmitters in the brain, like dopamine. Nicotine also binds other sites in our body, which predominantly have a stimulatory effect. So this means when I smoke a cigarette, I might have an increase in my heart rate, my blood pressure, an increase in my metabolic rate, a decrease in my appetite. I might have more muscle relaxation and more physical mental alertness. Now, how does one develop a nicotine addiction? Well, we're going to go through what is called the reward learning versus the reward prediction. Now, when a non-dependent person smokes for the first time, they experience an increase in dopamine. This leads to reward learning, where our brains enjoy the feeling, wakes up, and enjoys and orients our attention to smoking. After they smoke a number of times, they begin to look forward to the feeling they get from smoking. This anticipation is called reward prediction, and unconsciously, they start to look for ways to get nicotine. Now, daily smokers have been shown to reduce the amount of gray matter, i.e. the part of the brain responsible for thought, throughout the brain. In addition, repeated tobacco use causes an upregulation of nicotine receptors, which results in the need to get more nicotine to get the same brain effect. Now, dopamine neurons guide the reward learning by orienting a person's attention to anything in the environment that cues smoking cigarettes. These cues can trigger cravings and urges to smoke. Now, anything can become a cue. For example, someone who tends to smoke while driving may notice that they crave a cigarette as soon as they get behind the wheel. When these cues don't lead to smoking, a person experiences nicotine withdrawal. When nicotine is taken away from this feel-good system, the backlash is withdrawal. These symptoms may begin within an hour after the last cigarette and can last up to several weeks. Most intense physical withdrawals dissipate after the first week or two. Now, some people who have a nicotine withdrawal may notice that they're more irritable, they're more anxious, they may have difficulty concentrating, may have physical symptoms such as nausea, headaches, the inability to sleep. They also might have short-term cognitive problems, so like reduced attention, reduced reaction time, reduced motivation. Typically, cravings can last anywhere between 3 to 5 minutes. Now, one of the key concepts in understanding daily tobacco use is operative conditioning, which explains how tobacco use is learned. The theory states that a targeted behavior can be increased or decreased by the addition or removal of a stimulus. Now, in this visual here, we're looking at positive reinforcement, which occurs when a reward stimulus follows a targeted behavior. So tobacco use is the positive reinforcement when a person experiences the immediate physiological and psychological effects of nicotine exposure. So basically this means when they smoke, dopamine, i.e. the reward, is released and they want to smoke more to get that same feeling. This visual explains negative reinforcement, which occurs when the targeted behavior is followed by the removal of an unpleasant stimulus. So basically, someone is experiencing withdrawal, so they smoke, then they're relieved, and then every time they experience withdrawal, they want to smoke more. Now, the treatment of tobacco should address the physiological, i.e. the addiction to nicotine, and the behavioral aspects, i.e. the habit of using nicotine, which we'll get to in the next few modules, particularly in the targeted treatment strategies. Now, the next module will review the various types of tobacco products, including electronic cigarettes.